After jumping off the city tower, I was reborn and returned to the day the Crown Prince was injured. The Crown Prince pushed me into the sewage pit, his eyes full of disgust. "Don't touch me, you make me sick. In my previous life, I carried the injured Xiaozi out of the wilderness, received a marriage bestowed by His Majesty the Emperor, and became the Crown Princess. Unexpectedly, I loved him with my life, but he loathed me to the bone. On the third day after our wedding, he took in a side consort to disgust me. Later, when the country fell and my family perished, he abandoned me and fled with his side consort. Only then did I finally understand that his heart could never be warmed. But it was all too late. I could only jump off the city tower in resentment. In this life, I looked at Xiaozi, who was severely injured yet pushed me away and wouldn't let me come near. I laughed coldly, "Then you can just wait here to die." The Crown Prince looked up and glared at me, seeing the hatred in my eyes. His body stiffened. As if he had been shocked, "Zhongwu, why are you looking at me like that? If you hadn't insisted on coming closer, I wouldn't have pushed you." He spoke through gritted teeth, but his tone clearly concealed guilt. In my previous life, assassins suddenly appeared at the polo match. He was chased to the bottom of a mountain cliff, covered in injuries. I was the one who found him. Even though he detested me, I stubbornly insisted on saving him. To carry him out on my back, both my hands were scraped raw. Ladder. After marrying him, he repeatedly criticized the scars on my hands as ugly. He also said the side consort had skin like congealed fat and hands like soft white reeds, 1,000 times better than me. In this life, I will never be foolish again. I climbed out of the puddle, wiped the dirty water off my face, and with a cold laugh gave him a graceful bow. "Since your Highness detests this commoner girl, then this commoner girl will no longer offend your Highness's eyes. Xiaozi, look, it is not that I won't save you. It is that you don't want to live." I tossed my hair and turned around dashingly. Crown Prince was stunned and called out in a low voice, "Where are you going?" I turned back and smiled mockingly. "Naturally, far away from your Highness, lest I disgust you." "Oh, right. Your Highness should lower your voice. Be careful, the assassins are still nearby. That is not what I meant. I saved him." Yet he insisted on pushing me away. Now that I am leaving, he finally understands if I really don't care, he might die. Some people are just asking for it. "Zhongwu, come back." In his agitation, he bumped his wound and gasped in pain. I paid him no more mind and ran off. "Xiaozi, you can fend for yourself here. In this lifetime, I will never have anything to do with you again." Following the memories of my past life, I avoided the places where assassins would appear, cross mountains and ridges, and reach the official road back to the capital. My clothes were completely torn to shreds, and both shoes were lost somewhere, disheveled and filthy. I stopped a carriage coming toward me. This carriage looked extremely plain, with only a coachman and an old servant sitting at the front, probably from some minor household, a poor family. "Old sir, could you give me a ride?" I clung to the front of the carriage, looking at the old servant pleadingly. He looked troubled. This I'd need to ask my young master first. The one sitting inside that carriage must be his young master. I peered in and shouted inside, "Young master, this young lady got separated from her family. In these desolate mountains, I can't get back alone. Could you give me a ride?" After a few moments of silence, an extremely pleasant yet bone-chillingly cold male voice came from inside the carriage. "Why should I give a ride to a woman of unknown origins? I am not a woman of unknown origins. I am the legitimate granddaughter of the Marquis of Ping'an from the capital city. If you save me, the Marquis of Ping'an will reward you handsomely." The person inside the carriage let out a low, mocking laugh. "I've heard that the capital city places great importance on propriety between men and women. If you and I share a carriage, wouldn't that tarnish your reputation?" Seems like they're from out of town. No wonder. Such a long journey had worn this carriage down. "It is fine, you can just marry me, can't you?" Wait, I need to pause here for a second. Just crawled out of a sewage pit. Lost my shoes. Hair is a total mess, like a bird's nest, face covered in who knows what. And yet, I flag down a broken down carriage on the roadside and immediately want to get engaged to someone. Sister Zhongwu, your emotional progression is way too fast, isn't it? This is a reborn female lead's awakening, not a blind date show with a flash marriage. But then again, Even though this carriage is shabby, the person inside, I smell the scent of a male lead. This plot development, I give it full marks. It is getting dark, and if you won't take me, I won't be able to make it back on my own. I exerted force with both hands and climbed right up. Oh my, miss. The old servant couldn't stop me and watched helplessly as I dove inside. As the curtain lifted, a handsome and cold face came into view. Strange, this young master from a small household, his clothing and appearance looked simple and clean, yet judging by his bearing and demeanor, he seemed remarkably noble. In his long, deep-set eyes, it was as if the cold northern winds were howling, making one dare not look directly at him. A lone man and woman sharing a carriage. If people see this, aren't you afraid of becoming the subject of gossip? I was stunned for a moment, then sat down across from him with a smile. Then why don't you and I get engaged right now? That way others will have nothing to say. You, young master, have a dignified appearance, and this young lady isn't bad looking either. A match made in heaven, neither of us loses out. His eyes swept over my dirty face, and he smiled silently. What are you laughing at? Once cleaned up, it'll look good. I raised my hand to tidy my messy hair when a clean white silk handkerchief was suddenly tossed onto my knee. Before I could thank him, he had already looked away and said indifferently, "Where is your home? Just tell Uncle Fru from his manner. He didn't want to deal with me anymore. This person is really interesting." I picked up the handkerchief, wiped my face, lifted the carriage curtain, and told the old servant my home's location. Just as I was about to continue chatting with him, I saw his eyes flash sharply. With a wave of his hand, the carriage curtain tore open with a hole, and from outside came the sound of something falling. A moment later, the old servant said, "Young master, he is dead." He closed his eyes and said, "Let's go. No need to worry about it. Someone will come collect the body." Dead. What is dead? I looked bewildered and reached out to lift the curtain to look, but heard his indifferent voice stop me. Better not look. Probably thought I'd be scared. But I had already seen it. It was a black-clothed person with a dart lodged in his forehead, no longer moving. Small matter, most likely an assassin who had pursued us. I glanced at the certain someone resting with eyes closed and muttered inwardly, "This person is really formidable. If I stick with him, maybe he can keep me alive." I put down the curtain and couldn't help but sit up straight and proper. Before nightfall, the carriage entered the capital city and stopped in front of my house. I bowed to that person. "May I ask for your name, young master? This little lady would like to visit another day to express my gratitude." But that person lifted the carriage curtain with his hand and said indifferently, "It was just a small favor, go back now. How boring. Looks like this marriage proposal isn't going to work out. Then wait here for now. Don't leave yet. I'll come out to find you in a bit." I gave him a few instructions before lifting my skirt and jumping down from the carriage. The servant boy at the entrance saw me and froze, taking a moment to recognize me before crying out in surprised delight, "The eldest young miss has returned. The eldest young miss has returned." Soon, a large group of maids and servants rushed out from the manor, carrying quilts and wrapping me up as they brought me inside. "Miss, you are finally back. The old madam has been worried sick." My wet nurse sobbed uncontrollably while escorting me inside, shouting, "Old madam, the eldest young miss has returned. Jiao jiao." A hoarse cry came from ahead. The old madam of the Zhang Manor, my grandmother, her face streaked with tears, trembled as she rushed toward me. I had never seen her cry before. Grandmother may now look like just an ordinary old woman, but in her youth, she had slain enemies and provided disaster relief. She was a marchioness personally conferred by the late emperor. She is the strongest woman I have ever known. I always thought she didn't love me. In my previous life, I resented her strict control over me, thinking she only favored her granddaughter and didn't care for me. So I grew distant from her. Later, she strongly opposed my contact with Xiaozi and wanted me to marry a poor scholar. I thought she was trying to harm me, so I turned against her and became enemies with her. It wasn't until before I jumped from the city tower that I realized the poor scholar from back then had already become an important minister. And Xiaozi was never worth entrusting my life to. I looked at my white-haired grandmother, and for a moment I was overwhelmed with mixed emotions. How could she not love me? In my past life, I must have been blind to have misunderstood her. Grandmother, I fell to my knees before her, sobbing uncontrollably. Jiao Jiao was wrong, grandmother. Jiao Jiao shouldn't have disobeyed you. Grandmother froze, then pulled me into her arms with surprise and joy, tears welling in her aged eyes as she asked me in disbelief, "Jiao Jiao, what did you call me, grandmother, grandmother?" I sobbed, holding her tightly. In my previous life, I was at odds with her. After coming of age, I only called her old madam and never called her grandmother again. I never imagined that calling her grandmother today would make her this happy. Good, good, it is good that Jiao Jiao is back. It is good that Jiao Jiao is safe. Grandmother is so happy. Her aged body was clearly trembling, her arms holding me with such force as if trying to merge me into her body. Oh, right, grandmother, I haven't thanked the person who saved me and brought me back yet. I wiped my face and hurriedly led grandmother into the room, taking out a box of gold from the head of the bed. However, when I ran to the doorway, I only saw emptiness outside without a trace. That person had already left long ago, before the carriage entered the city. I saw the feathered guards who had gone into the forest to search for the crown prince in my previous life. After returning, I figured that the crown prince had probably been rescued and brought back. Since he didn't die, he'd likely come after me for payback. After some quick thinking, I closed my eyes and collapsed into my grandmother's arms, pretending to faint. When the physician came to examine me, I still called out in a daze, "Hurry and save the crown prince." Save the crown prince. 3 days later, the assassins were captured, and Shaozi indeed sent people to hold me accountable. With a haggard expression, I explained meekly, it was His Highness the Crown Prince who drove me away. After I came out, I originally wanted to seek help immediately, but who knew my body was so weak that I fainted? I have wronged His Highness the Crown Prince. The messengers wanted to say more, but my grandmother gripped her python-headed cane and struck it on the ground, startling those people into retreating 3 steps. My Jiao Jiao is already this sick. She has been calling out to save the Crown Prince even in her dreams. What more do you want? She is just a frail woman. Even if she hadn't run, what could she have done? What do you want her to pay with her life before you are satisfied? Old madam, we are also following whoever's orders you are following. Let them come say it themselves. We will take our leave. Those people from the Eastern Palace were frightened and fled in a flash. My grandmother's domineering manner wasn't without reason. Her niece was the current empress, and she herself was a marchioness personally granted the title by the previous emperor. Even His Majesty the Emperor and the Empress had to show her considerable respect. Jiao Jiao, don't be afraid, with grandmother here. No one dares to bully you. She touched my head, looked at me, her gaze loving. Probably only when I am sick can I see her this gentle. Normally her discipline is strict and merciless. The slightest impropriety means getting my palm struck. Actually, this is all for my own good. If she didn't truly care for me, she wouldn't bother disciplining me. In my last life, how did I not understand this? I felt a bit of heartache and dozed off lightly while holding her arm. Hurried footsteps suddenly came from the doorway, and then 2 women, one in red and one in green, stepped inside. Abu Buddha be praised, you've returned safely. I didn't need to look up to know it was those 2 annoying pests, my stepmother and stepsister. They must have just returned from visiting relatives. I am so glad sister is all right. My stepsister dabbed at her reddened eyes with a handkerchief, putting on an act of being extremely concerned about me. In my last life, I was deceived by her innocent facade and treated the mother and daughter extremely well. It wasn't until the 3rd day after my wedding to Shaozi, when my stepsister Zhang Xiyue appeared in Shaozi's bed crying, "Sister, please forgive me," that I finally saw her true face. I clutched the blanket and watched them coldly as they put on their act. Zhang Xiyue's gaze met mine, and for an instant she seemed startled, retreating guiltily to my stepmother's side. At the same time, another person walked in, bringing with them a gust of cold wind. It was my father. I already told you, Wu is fine. Look at how anxious you 2 were, nagging nonstop the whole way. You even wore out the carriage. My father removed his cloak and bowed to grandmother. Mother, your son has returned. Grandmother nodded, somewhat dissatisfied with him, but ultimately did not scold him. Zhang Xiyue glanced at me, her eyes shifting as she opened her mouth, wanting to say something. I had already guessed it. In my previous life, she acted extremely obedient in front of my father, and always instigated trouble together with my stepmother, provoking confrontations between me and my father. This led to me becoming, in my father's eyes, an unruly girl who knew no manners and was disloyal and unfilial. Meanwhile, she was set off by me as an understanding and pitiable good girl, monopolizing father's favor today. I will no longer tolerate her repeating the same old tricks and succeeding as a villain. Ah Wu pays respects to father. Before Zhang Siyue could speak, I covered my mouth and coughed twice, then frail and weakly crawled up to greet my father. Grandmother hurriedly held me down. All right, Zhao Zhao, we don't need to worry about such formalities when you are seriously ill. Lie down quickly. Ah Wu, lie down. My father sat down by the bedside, looked at me, and sighed. After this illness, you've become much more obedient. My eyes reddened, and I reached out to grab my father's sleeve. Saying softly, after going through all this, Ah Wu finally understands how well father protected me before. Father, Ah Wu was wrong. I'll never be willful and reckless again, and I'll never make you angry again. My father froze for a moment, his expression softening considerably. The affection I hadn't seen in his eyes for so long finally returned. No matter how many misunderstandings there had been before, I was still his biological daughter after all. Blood is thicker than water. He wouldn't stay angry at me forever. You silly girl, father was never angry at you. As long as you remember this lesson and stop being so willful from now on. Father can rest easy. Zhang Xie watched from the side, her face full of surprise. How could she have expected that Zhang Wu, who was extremely rebellious and argued with father every day, would suddenly have a change of heart? Stepmother secretly reached out and poked Zhang Xiyue. Zhang Xiyue snapped back to attention, then quickly ran to sit by the edge of the bed. Squeezing out 2 drops of tears, she said earnestly, "Sister is all right. That is truly wonderful. Mother and I went to the temple overnight to burn incense when we heard the news. The Buddha really blessed you. Hilarious. I went through hell to escape, and now it has become her achievement." Upon hearing this, my father turned to look at her and smiled with relief. Siyue is also a good child. These past few days she has been worried about her sister, couldn't eat or sleep. She has had it hard too. In a couple of days, your mother will be entered into the family register for the ancestral rites. There is much to be busy with, so you shouldn't tire yourself out anymore. Go back and rest well. Oh right, my stepmother and my father have been married for over half a year, but she still hasn't been entered into the family register. I remember in my past life at the ancestral rite ceremony, somehow a string of firecrackers suddenly exploded right next to my ear, making me scream. I lost my composure in front of the clan members, was scolded for not knowing proper etiquette, and my father thought I embarrassed him, so he gave me the cold shoulder for a long time. But Jiang Siwei, who was standing right next to me, remained calm and composed, unfazed by the situation, and was praised by everyone for many days. At that time, I thought it was just an accident. Now that I think about it, I am afraid it wasn't that simple. I concealed my thoughts and continued to play the obedient daughter. At night, I called my personal maid and told her to keep a close eye on Zhang Xiyue and her mother. The maid's name is Hua Zhaobi. She was trained by my grandmother, herself clever and alert. Nothing could escape her eyes. In my past life, I thought she was someone my grandmother sent to monitor me, so I was very cold to her and wouldn't take her with me when going out. Tonight is actually the first time I've properly talked to her. Miss, I just feel that you seem to have changed somehow before going out. Zhaobi cautiously said this. I looked at her with a smile, then tell me, how have I changed? She scratched her head. I can't really explain it, but anyway, you've definitely changed for the better. I don't mean you were bad before. She covered her mouth and hurriedly ran off. Of course I've changed. Having personally experienced the feeling of death, I am no longer that naive young lady I once was. In this life, all those who wronged me, owed me, or harmed me, none of them will have a good ending. I was right after all. The next day, Zhaobi found out the news. Zhang Siwei and my stepmother were indeed planning to harm me. On the day of the ritual, I was helped along to the ancestral hall. Since we were juniors, Zhang Siwei and I both stood at the very back. The final part of the ceremony was setting off firecrackers and beating gongs and drums. After the clan leader finished reciting the final blessing, I caught a glimpse from the corner of my eye Zhang Siwei's hand moved behind her back, and a smile crept onto the corner of her mouth. I smiled too and coughed once, covering my mouth. Several loud crackling bangs rang out, immediately followed by my stepmother's shriek. Zhang Siwei startled and stared in shock toward the hall. A string of firecrackers had somehow exploded under my stepmother's skirt. The sparks burned her skirt and blasted her face. Oh my, what happened? With a worried expression. I squeezed past Zhang Xiyue and ran to my stepmother. The firecrackers had finished exploding. She was in a disheveled state, having knocked over several memorial tablets, sitting on the ground crying. "Mother, get up quickly, wipe your face. How can you be so improper in front of the ancestors?" I pulled out my handkerchief and hurriedly wiped my stepmother's face. The faces of the surrounding clan members gradually turned sour. "Jiang Yushi, get up right now. What kind of behavior is this?" My father also hurried over to help her up while scolding, "How did this firecracker get thrown in here?" It was elder sister. Zhang Xiyue said through tears, indignantly pointing at me. Just now, elder sister coughed, exchanged a look with someone, and the firecracker suddenly went off. In an instant, everyone looked at me. This girl really is grasping at straws in desperation. I suddenly started coughing. Cough, cough, Xiyue. You are being so unreasonable. I am seriously ill, coughing day and night. Everyone knows that. Just now, I simply couldn't help it. It is not my fault that I am sick. As for the eye signal you mentioned, that absolutely never happened. My father frowned and shouted outside. "Where is that kid who set off the firecracker?" Coming, several men dragged a young boy over. When the boy saw my father, he hastily begged for mercy. "Uncle, I didn't throw this firecracker. I was going to light it in the courtyard, but who knew? Who knew a little beggar who barged and snatched it away and caused this disaster?" As he spoke, he pointed toward the door. A younger child was hiding behind the door, grinning as he watched inside. When he noticed everyone looking at him, he quickly ran away. Simone whispered, "A prank. Whose kid is that so naughty? And the adults don't even discipline him." My father looked at Zhang Xiyue and put on a stern face. "What is the matter with you? Without any proof or evidence, you slander your sister in front of everyone." Zhang Xiyue's face turned pale. "Father, why don't you hurry up and help your mother up? Aren't you embarrassed enough?" My father angrily pulled up Zhang Yushi, apologized to the clan leader, completed the final ceremony, and brought us home with a dark expression. He personally escorted me back to my room and told me to rest and recover well. As for Zhang Xiyue, since returning home, the way my father looked at her carried a hint of displeasure. That night, Zhaobi gave reward money to those 2 kids from the daytime. After returning, she was laughing with great satisfaction. So satisfying, Miss Zhang Yushi and her daughter tried to harm us. Humph. They tried to steal a chicken only to lose their rice instead. Just as she finished speaking, grandmother's voice came from the doorway. "Who tried to steal a chicken only to lose their rice?" Zhaobi and I were startled and both knelt down. Grandmother stood there with her python-headed cane, furiously saying, "Awoo, how dare you!" Grandmother must have found out what I did. She has always despised evil and cannot stand these dirty tricks. Even if I tried to explain, it would be useless. So I simply spread out my hands and held them up. "Grandmother, Awu was wrong. Please hit me. Do you know where you went wrong? Wrong in using dirty tricks against people." As soon as I finished speaking, Grandmother picked up the cane and whipped me with a crack. She was extremely angry, her chest heaving up and down. "You are an unmarried young lady doing such things. If people find out, what will they say about you? Where will the Jiang family put its face? Face, always face. In my last life, for the sake of the Jiang family's face, I pretended to be virtuous and magnanimous my whole life, acted like a cowardly turtle my whole life, and died suffocated with frustration. But even though I had anger in my heart, I didn't dare show it. Grandmother was also doing this for my own good. In this life, I can't make her angry again. Yes, Abu knows she was wrong." I lowered my head and obediently admitted my mistake. "It seems it is time to arrange a marriage for you, to temper your temperament, lest you cause more trouble." Grandmother sighed and said, "Reflect on yourself properly at home in a few days. The young master from the Lin family of Liangsheng will be coming to the capital city. He is a good boy. When he arrives, you'll meet him and see how you like each other. What was meant to come has come. In my last life, that brother Lin from the Lin family, whom I absolutely refused to meet later became an important minister, was dispatched to serve as an official elsewhere, and wasn't affected when the capital city was conquered. In this life, if I really marry him, perhaps I can leave the capital city early with my family. In the future, even if the barbarians breach the city, our family will be safe." I nodded and obediently agreed. Yes, Awu understands. Grandmother was stunned for a moment. probably not expecting me to be so obedient. You are not lying to grandmother, are you? In your heart, do you still think about the crown prince? If Awu still thought about the crown prince that day, I wouldn't have run off and left him alone. After a long while, grandmother nodded. That is good then. Does your hand hurt? I smiled and shook my head. It doesn't hurt anymore. Grandmother didn't hit hard. I should have hit harder, you. Stop causing trouble. As for Zhang Yu, she sighed. Grandmother will go deal with it. Okay, grandmother glared at me reproachfully, scolded Zhaobi a few more times, then returned to her own room. I was confined at home by grandmother to reflect on my mistakes, not allowed to go anywhere. It wasn't until 10 days later that the Empress wanted to summon me, saying she wanted me to come to the palace to talk. The current Empress is grandmother's niece. She has always wanted me to marry Xiaozhe. Xiaozi isn't her biological son. Although he has been raised under her name since childhood, he is not very close to her. In fact, he is somewhat repulsed by her. I think this is probably also the main reason Xiaozi dislikes me. He doesn't want to be arranged by the Empress. Before I left, grandmother pressed a box of pastries into my hands. Zhao Zhao, the crown prince, is also in the palace these days. You should go see him while you are there. Last time you ran off and left him behind, that was ultimately wrong of you. Apologize to him so he won't hold a grudge against you. I opened the box and took a whiff. The fragrance almost knocked me dead, as if Xiaozi deserves it. Every time I entered the palace before, I'd bring him pastries I made myself, and he'd turn around and throw them away. Now, even if he got on his knees and begged me, he can forget about eating anything from my family. On the road to Capital City, Zhaobi and I ate up all the pastries grandmother made until there wasn't a crumb left, then bought the cheapest coarse grain flatbread from a street stall and put it in the food box. Upon entering Cunning Palace and paying respects to the Empress, she pulled me aside to chat as usual, frequently probing during our conversation to see if I still liked Xiaozi in my previous life. I saved Xiaozi, so she went with the flow and asked His Majesty the Emperor to grant us a marriage. In this life, I ran off and left Xiaozi behind. The whole city knew about it, which made things rather awkward for her now. I pretended not to understand her hints, playing dumb the whole time. Finally, unable to continue her questioning, she sent me away and told me to go find Xiaozi for a chat. I carried the food box out and waited for Xiaozi in the imperial garden. When the little eunuch went to fetch him, I stood under a tree, blown by the wind until I kept hiccuping. A few sparrows gathered on the ground, hopping around, pecking at something, or other footsteps sounded, and from the corner of my eye I caught sight of Xiaozi. He was tall and imposing, wearing a black brocade robe that suited him well. Exceptionally cold and aloof, with an air of insufferable arrogance. His injuries sure healed fast, though. I lifted the food box, and just as I was about to turn around and call out to him, I suddenly changed my mind and calmly opened the lid. Why did you bring this kind of thing again? Before Xiaozi could finish his sentence, I had already taken out a piece of pastry, crumbled it, and scattered it for the sparrows on the ground. He choked on his words, his hand that was halfway extended awkwardly clenched into a fist, and withdrew. In the past, he didn't like the things I brought either, but for the sake of appearances, he would take them only to throw them away in the end. This time I made him eat humble pie, and I felt inexplicably pleased inside. I didn't dare to laugh, pretending as if I had just noticed him. I placed the food box on the ground and curtsied. "This subject's daughter greets your highness," he responded. "Then put on that cold and aloof, arrogant manner again, Zhang Wu. Seeing as you came on your own initiative to apologize, I won't hold it against you for abandoning me and running away last time. Who says I came to apologize?" I brushed off the pastry crumbs from my hands and said indifferently, "Last time it was you who drove me away," after I left. "I also worked hard to find people to rescue you. What wrong have I committed?" Xiaozi choked, his face turning livid. He had thought I came to apologize, but I slapped him in the face instead. So naturally he felt extremely uncomfortable inside. "Then what are you doing here? Her Majesty sent me here." I sighed and said, "Your Majesty's words cannot be refused. Your Highness, let me speak frankly. Her Majesty has always wanted me to marry you. For the past few years, to make Her Majesty happy, I've been circling around you. But now I want to live for myself. I don't want to waste my time on you anymore." Xiaozi's pupils contracted. He didn't expect me to say this. His face turned green, then pale. It looked quite spectacular, waste time, choking with anger. After a long pause, he said irritably, "Fine. Very well. I hope you stick to your word. From now on, don't ever appear before me again. As you command." I curtsied joyfully and left in high spirits. Not long after leaving, I remembered I'd forgotten to take the food box, so I turned back to get it. At the corner, I suddenly heard the eunuch beside Xiaozi ask, "Your Highness, Miss Zhang used to shamelessly cling to you all the time. Why is she so different today? It is like she is a completely different person. Could it be that she was really just pretending all along?" Talking about me, I stuck half my head out and peeked over. I saw Xiaozi's face look terrible. He clenched his fists and sneered coldly. "It is just a little trick girl's play. Using this method to attract my attention. Ha! Just watch, I won't pay her any mind. Let's see how long she can keep up the act." The little eunuch pondered for a moment and said, "It doesn't look like it, though. If she really wanted to attract your attention, she wouldn't have run off and left you last time. Your Highness, could it be that you are being presumptuous? What a fearless eunuch, I really like him." I lifted my foot and walked over. Oh my, I forgot to take the food box. The hairpin on my head jingled noisily like gongs and drums with firecrackers going off. I twisted and swayed as I walked forward. Xiaozi turned his head and saw me. His handsome face instantly turned red. He glanced at the food box on the ground and awkwardly stepped back. "You? How can you be so scatterbrained?" His voice was loud, but lacked conviction. Gossiping behind someone's back and getting caught, no matter how thick-skinned, it is still embarrassing. The eunuch stole a glance at Xiaozi, also blushed, and awkwardly turned his head away. I picked up the food box, about to leave, then turned back and asked Xiaozi with curious eyes, "Just now I accidentally heard your Highness say, 'Pretend to be something.' But I didn't hear clearly, pretend to be what, your Highness?" Xiaozi stiffened for a moment, his brain unusually unable to turn. Not knowing how to phrase his words, hilarious. I looked at the food box in my hands and said, "Ah, I understand now. Your Highness must have taken a liking to this food box and wants to use it to store things, right? What is there to be embarrassed about? My family has plenty of these." Here, without waiting for his reaction, I forcefully stuffed it into his hands. Xiaozi took it, his face red like a monkey's butt. I curtsied and swayed my waist as I went back. After walking some distance, from the corner of my eye I saw Xiaozi pick up the food box and angrily smack it on the little eunuch's butt. After returning home, I didn't go out again, focusing on waiting for Brother Lin to come. At the same time, I am also trying to find a way to get my family to move out of the capital city. In my previous life, the borderlands were breached, and the barbarian tribes reached the capital city. Not many in the entire city survived, with my meager abilities. I naturally can't fend off the barbarian tribes or change the outcome of our nation's fall. The only solution I can think of is to persuade my family to leave. After Brother Lin becomes an official, he'll be dispatched elsewhere. If I marry him, perhaps we can avoid this disaster. After waiting several days before he arrived in the capital, someone organized a spring outing in the outskirts to fly kites. I didn't want to go, but Zhang Xiyue wanted to. I remember in my previous life, she made a spectacular showing at the kite competition and hooked up with Xiaozi. In this life, even though I no longer care for Xiaozi, Zhang Xiyue shouldn't get her way either. After she became a secondary consort, I remember every way she disgusted me. I had Jalbi keep an eye on Zhang Xiyue. And that very night, Jalbi told me that Zhang Xiyue was indeed making a kite in her courtyard. Ever since she became part of our Zhang family, she has been desperately trying to make connections with the ladies of the capital city, so her information came even earlier than mine. It is a very beautiful kite, already half finished. But while making it, she and her mother were bad-mouthing you. "Miss, should I sneak in and burn it for you?" Don't let her finish it. What is the point of burning it now? It is much more interesting to let her get so close to her goal that she can almost reach out and grab it, then cut off her path with one stroke. I didn't go disturb Zhang Xiyue after enduring for 3 days. On the day of the spring outing, I followed her out in a carriage after she left. After arriving at Mulan Lake, Zhang Xiyue jumped down from the carriage and ran off to greet the young lady she had befriended. Job took the opportunity to slip into her carriage and stole out the box containing her kite. It really was beautiful. Zhang Xiyue had put her heart into it in my previous life. I didn't attend this gathering and didn't know what she made. This time, I've really opened my eyes. Such a shame, though, with impure motives, even the most beautiful kite is disgusting. Jobu, come on, let's tear it up for fun. Job hesitated a bit. What a waste, miss. Are we being a bit bad doing this? Bad, I laughed. All the young ladies in the capital say that I, Jongwoo, as the eldest sister, bully my stepsister, and mean-spirited and jealous, that I am a wicked woman. Don't you know that? Since Jong Sie slanders me like this outside, and since I can't clear my name, then I'll just be bad thoroughly, be bad with a clear conscience. Come on, tear it. I handed Job a wing, and just as I was about to tear it, a leisurely male voice suddenly came from behind. Such a beautiful thing. Why tear it up? My hand paused, and I turned around in pleasant surprise. It really was that person, long time, no see, didn't expect to run into him here. This time he was wearing a black gold woven, tiger patterned robe, which made him look even more handsome and noble. Last time I saw his family's carriage was so shabby, I thought he came from a poor family, but now it seems I misjudged him. What are you doing here? Why can't I be here? He glanced at the kite in my hand and said, "This thing, it doesn't seem to be yours." When he asked, I remembered I was here to tear up the kite. If I don't tear it up now, Jang Siwei will be back soon. So I used force and ripped it apart with a loud tear. Still not satisfied, I threw it on the ground and stomped it to pieces. Indeed, it is not mine. I put the kite fragments back in the box and had Jalbi put it back. I wiped my hands and asked him, "You won't tell anyone, will you?" He didn't say anything. "You saw it yourself. I am not a good person." But I rolled my eyes and smiled. "After all, I am your fiancé, so don't tell anyone." He said with amusement, "Since when did you become my fiancé?" "From the moment I got in your carriage." "What? You don't like it?" He paused for a moment, then asked back, a woman as bright and cheerful as Miss Jang. Who wouldn't like her? The spring breeze was gentle, his features were so good-looking that my heart skipped a beat. "However, if you knew who I am afraid you'd wish you could take back what you said today. Then tell me, who are you?" He didn't speak. Looking into my eyes, the faint smile on his face turning into a dejection I couldn't understand. I waited a few moments and urged, "Say it." Only then did he slowly speak. "I am Xiaoboyan." As if a thunderclap exploded in my mind, my body stiffened. The 9th Prince, Xiaoboyan, that is right. I suddenly didn't know what to say. The 9th Prince Xiaoboyan? His mother was a woman from the Miao borderlands, Consort Yan 15 years ago. She personally orchestrated the witchcraft and curse disaster that shocked the court, causing the deaths of countless people. Latter, Consort Yan was convicted and became a criminal woman, executed. Xiaoboyan was scorned and also became a criminal. At 10 years old, he was exiled to Yanmen. Although he wasn't demoted to commoner status, he still has no title or fief to this day. Seeing my reaction, he said with light mockery, scared, "You must know that I am a criminal. If you marry me, you'll become a criminal's wife." Okay, hold on. This palace has been eating melon up to this point and must say a few fair words. This so-called witchcraft and curse disaster has always been the most convenient excuse in imperial power struggles. Once that hat is slapped on, the maternal clan is exterminated, the son exiled. This blame has been carried since he was 10 years old, carried until now. Xiaoboyan, you are actually the biggest victim in this entire book. Okay? And did you guys notice when he said, "If you marry me, you'll become a criminal's wife"? What expression was in his eyes? It was, "I am reminding you to stay away from me," the kind of expression only someone who is used to being despised by everyone and preemptively finds escape routes for others would have. This detail author, you hit it deep, but this palace saw it. This palace's eyes are getting a bit hot. Don't laugh at this palace. Yes, if I marry him, I'll be a criminal's wife with no peace for the rest of my life. The Zhang family has been a prestigious clan for 100 years, but by my generation I am the only one left. If I am finished, the Zhang family's glory will be cut off too. I bit my lip. What, criminal or not criminal? Don't lose heart. Maybe one day the emperor will show great mercy and this whole thing will be turned over. I didn't even... He laughed, his eyes reflecting fragmented light like shattered ice shards. "What are you afraid of? Don't worry, I know everything you said was just joking around. I didn't take it to heart." When he said that, my conscience felt uneasy instead. Jiaobi waved at me, saying quietly, "Don't stay here too long. Zhang Siwei is coming back." I glanced at Xiaoboyan, turned around, and ran off. Getting into the crowd, I tried hard to forget what just happened and greeted everyone. All the young ladies in the capital city knew me. But because I didn't like socializing and Zhang Xiyue was close with them, playing the innocent flower every day and crying about how I bullied her, everyone's attitude toward me was indifferent. After some pleasantries, the organizers suggested that everyone take out the kites they made and have a competition. Zhang Xiyue was the first to run back to the carriage, proudly carrying out her box. Xiyue, seeing how precious you are treating it, you must have put in a lot of effort this time. Naturally, the young ladies opened their boxes one after another, showing off the kites they made. When it was Zhang Xiyue's turn, she held her box without opening it, but looked at me instead. Elder sister is the most dexterous and clever. Everything she makes is praised by all. Since you are here today, how would I dare to open my box first? Elder sister, why don't you take out your kite first and let us have a look? She clearly knows I didn't make one. Yet, she is trying to drag me into this, huh? I spread my hands. I didn't make one. I don't know how. I am just here to watch you all play. The crowd burst into laughter, quite a few people showing disdainful expressions. Too bad for them. I've lived 2 lifetimes. Why would I still care about saving face? I don't feel embarrassed at all. Since that is the case, Xia, open your box and let us see. Everyone looked toward her. Zhang Xiyue squatted down and proudly opened the box. But the moment she saw what was inside, her face turned deathly pale. A box full of scraps. Her kite was now nothing but fragments. How could this happen without the imagined stunning debut? Zhang Xiyue lost her composure, tears rolling down like beads on a string. My kite has been destroyed by someone, she sobbed, clutching the fragments like a child whose candy had been stolen. Looking around in a circle, her gaze settled on me. It was you, it must have been you who destroyed my kite. I quickly stepped back, looking at her with an innocent expression. What gives you the right to falsely accuse me? Did you see with your own eyes that I destroyed it? If not you, then who else could it be? That is hard to say. What if your kite was damaged by the bumpy carriage? Or maybe it had a breakdown and inexplicably fell apart on its own. You didn't even see how it broke, so don't go making baseless accusations. I fanned myself with my handkerchief and went off to admire other people's works. Zhang Xiyue, having lost her kite, was reduced to a supporting role and could only watch unwillingly as other young ladies stole the spotlight. Strange, I didn't see the crown prince, nor did I see Xiaoboyan. For this spring outing, men and women were separated, the women on the left side of the stream, the men on the right. Right now, they were playing games like arrow throwing and such. I sat on the grass and spent a boring morning. During lunch, everyone sat together. Zhang Xiyue said something to people. And those few young ladies she'd cozied up to actually wanted to seek justice for her and denounce me. They all had some literary talent, and one after another, they wrote poems and recited them for everyone to hear. Generally speaking, they were all sour poems mocking me as mean-spirited and jealous. I coldly watched them put on their act for ages, then picked up a brush and said, since everyone's in such a poetic mood, let me write a poem to suit the occasion too. Everyone looked at me like they were watching a joke. Until I finished writing, stood up, and posted the poem on a tree. A bunch of ugly hags with foul mouths and too much shit to stir. Brains dumber than pig's talent, barely any among you. Jiang Wu, someone was so angry they stamped their feet, pointing at my nose and demanding, who are you cursing? I rolled my eyes, throwing stones at dogs. Whoever yelps the loudest got hit. Whoever's taking it personally is exactly who I am cursing at. You are simply vulgar and unreasonable. Can you curse with anything that sounds better? Is the vocabulary in your pig brains really that poor? No wonder you can stick together with someone like Zhang Xiyue, each one of you born like a block of elmwood, can't even curse properly. Even if you taught a dog to read, it'd curse better than you lot. These few lines of mine truly provoked public outrage. Several young ladies who were close with Zhang Xiyue turned red with anger and reached out to tear the flowers from my hair. Zhang Wu, I'll tear that mouth of yours apart. As if I'd be scared, I grabbed onto those few and wildly scratched and hit them. Originally, for this spring outing, men and women were separated. The men across the stream had no idea what the girls over here were saying. Now it was great. Those few fighting with me were screaming like pigs being slaughtered. In an instant, all the men on the other side stood up to watch the commotion. Just as I was fighting with great enthusiasm, I suddenly heard the Crown Prince's voice. Stop it. Xiaozi's voice wasn't loud, but it carried great authority. Upon hearing it, those young ladies hurriedly let go. Your Highness the Crown Prince, Xiaozi had arrived at some unknown time. Seeing us fighting, he walked over with a dark expression, his gaze falling on each of our faces. That fight was so satisfying. The faces of those women who ganged up on me were all scratched up. Their hair came undone. They looked like absolute messes, quite a sight to see. Under Xiaozi's gaze, they belatedly felt ashamed, covering their faces, not daring to let anyone look at them. Jiangwu, in front of everyone, brawling like a shrew. Have you no sense of shame left? Come here. What, with so many people fighting, why is he only scolding me? I was furious and didn't move an inch. He walked straight up, grabbed my wrist, and practically dragged me into the woods. What are you doing? Let go of me! Xiaozi released his grip and said angrily, Jiangwu, look at yourself, so improper, making such a scene today. Aren't you afraid of humiliation? I laughed in anger. Humiliation. What do I have to be humiliated about? My reputation is already ruined anyway. Getting in a fight. How much worse can it get? But those women, they're all supposed to be noble young ladies who value their reputations, like their lives being beaten up by me. Like that today, they'll be laughed at for the rest of their lives. Now that is truly humiliating, and you are proud of that. Of course, I am proud. Whoever cares loses, and I don't lose anything. So why can't I be proud? He was speechless with anger. You are truly beyond saving. The way you are, who would dare marry you? Is that any of your business? What does it have to do with you? He choked, then said, the Empress is your aunt, and I can barely be considered your cousin, so why can't I interfere? I sneered, no need for you to worry, cousin. My grandmother has already arranged to betroth me to a young master from the Lin family. In a few days, they'll come to our residence to discuss the engagement. That Lin family young master is the most gentle person. He wouldn't mind such trivial matters. He froze. After a long while, he asked me in disbelief, last month you swore you'd marry no one but me, and this month you are already discussing marriage with someone else? Your Highness, that matter has long since passed. I already told you last time at the palace I don't like you, and I don't want to waste any more time. You really are fickle. Yes, he rolled my eyes at him and strutted away. My face was dirty, so I was done playing, huffing with annoyance. I walked toward the carriage, and Zhaobi hurried over to greet me. Just as I was about to reach it, a hand suddenly grabbed my sleeve and pulled me behind a tree. Startled, I looked up and, recognizing that face, hurriedly raised my hand to cover my own. Xiao Boyan scoffed lightly. Cover what? I already saw it. Only then did I hesitantly lower my hand and ask him, where did you go earlier? I didn't see you at all. I don't like crowds, so I stayed in a quiet spot. If you don't like crowds, why come here at all? The Crown Prince ordered it, so I had no choice but to comply. So it was Xiaozi who called him here? Are those two brothers on good terms? Just as I was thinking that, he suddenly pulled out a small porcelain bottle from his chest and handed it over. This is top quality wound medicine. I always carry it with me. Wash your wound and apply some. Always carrying it with him, was it because he got injured often? He was at Yanmen, that bitter, cold place. It must have been all fighting and killing, clawing his way through, right? I took the small porcelain bottle and held it in my hand, feeling a bit embarrassed. You saw me bullying people, saw me fighting. Don't you think I am disgraceful? That I've disgraced myself? He actually laughed. Why would I look down on you? Those so-called noble young ladies and high-born sons of the capital city are the most hypocritical. Watching you beat them up actually felt refreshing to me. Inexplicably, the weight in my heart lifted, and I joked arrogantly, then since you saw me fighting, why didn't you come help me? As soon as I said it, I felt a bit regretful. He wasn't anyone special to me, so why should he help me? I shouldn't have made that kind of joke. But Xiao Boyan didn't react much, only saying, I was thinking I'd step in to help if you couldn't handle it, but who knew you'd be so fierce? After saying that, he looked at me with a smile for a while, then added, go wash your wound and apply the medicine quickly. You'll be discussing marriage in a few days. Walking around all banged up probably wouldn't look good. Engagement? Ah, he heard me talking with Xiaozi. I hastily explained, what marriage discussion? I was just making it up. Actually, he is just here in the capital city to take the exam. We haven't even met. There is nothing between us at all. I only said that because the Crown Prince said I couldn't get married. He smiled. How could you not get married? Besides, a woman's value doesn't lie in whether a man wants her or not. You don't need to pay attention to him. Thank you, you are really nice. He was the only person besides my grandmother who said something like this. In the distance, Xiaozi somehow came over, and seeing us he shouted loudly, "Bo Yan!" I was so scared my legs trembled. Xiao Bo Yan looked towards him and bowed respectfully. "Crown Prince, your highness." Xiaozi glanced at me with a disgusted look. "Bo Yan, why are you with her?" Xiao Bo Yan looked at me, then lowered his eyes. I accidentally stepped on Miss Zhang family's dress and was apologizing. Oh, Xiaozi breathed a sigh of relief and said, "What apology?" "It is probably because she wasn't paying attention herself and is blaming you instead. Don't stand with her anymore. Come here, I have a lot to say to you." "Yes," Xiao Bo Yan nodded, gestured to me, and walked towards Xiaozi Dog Crown Prince. I secretly rolled my eyes at him, then pulled Zhao Bai along and went home. After returning home, I worried that Zhang Xie would go crying to my father, so without treating the wound on my face, I complained first before being complained about, and found my father to have a good cry. When Zhang Xie came back, I was covering my face crying miserably. My father looked at her and asked unhappily, "Why did you join forces with outsiders today to humiliate your older sister?" Zhang Xie was stunned and hurriedly explained, "I didn't join forces with outsiders to bully her. It was elder sister who tore my kite first. The other young ladies couldn't stand it, so they said a few words to her. A few words and they made her face like this." My father's face turned red with anger. "Look at what your sister's been beaten into. How can she face people in the future? Also, you said she tore your kite. Do you have any proof?" Jiang Siwei hemmed and hawed, unable to say anything. She simply gave up and said defiantly, "She was the only one who didn't make a kite today." Clearly she was jealous of me. Zhang Yushi on the side was anxious to death. She'd been giving signals for ages, but Zhang Xie ignored her completely. In the end, she had no choice but to step in herself. "Master, please calm down. None of us went with them today." So we don't know what really happened. Siwei has always had a gentle nature. You know that how could she possibly bully Awu? Of course, I don't think Awu would deliberately slander Siwei. Either there must be some misunderstanding here. The young ladies of the various families in the capital city have always been jealous of our Awu and Siwei. It is quite possible they were the ones stirring up trouble between them. This Zhang Yushi really has a silver tongue. If my father listened to her, he'd probably think Zhang Xiyue was innocent and pitiful, just being used by others. I was getting a bit anxious and about to speak when I heard an angry shout from the doorway. "How dare you say being misled? If you ask me, you have malicious intentions. Your foxtail can't stay hidden anymore." "It is grandmother." I turned my head to look, and saw grandmother glaring coldly at Madame Zhang Yu and her daughter, gnashing her teeth as she said, "What kind of misleading could make someone beat my Zhao Zhao like this?" Your daughter stood by and watched from the sidelines, coming out spotless, while my Zhao Zhao's face has been beaten bloody. Even if there was a misunderstanding, I've never seen anyone beat their own family like this. I think you've never considered yourselves part of the Zhang family at all. These words were too harsh. Madame Zhang Yu was so frightened she immediately dropped to her knees. "Mother, Siwei absolutely didn't mean that. I don't care whether she meant it or not. Starting today, until the day she marries, Zhang Siwei is not allowed to step 1 foot outside her courtyard. If she disobeys, she can get out of the Zhang family." Madame Zhang Yu was terrified, tears streaming down like rain as she hurriedly looked toward my father. My father froze for a moment, then quickly went to support grandmother. "Mother, isn't this a bit too? What, you want to plead for them? Do you even still know which one is your biological daughter?" My father, glared at by grandmother, instantly lost his nerve and repeatedly said, I wouldn't dare. "Whatever mother says goes, your son won't say another word." Grandmother let out a cold snort, then turned to face me. Examining my wound with heartache, "Zhao Zhao, does it hurt?" It actually didn't hurt anymore, but I really loved the way grandmother felt sorry for me. So I squeezed out 2 drops of tears and nodded pitifully. It hurts, oh my poor little thing. Grandmother will call the physician to see you right away." She wiped the mud off my forehead and said, "You've been wronged. Why didn't you come to grandmother first, but came to your father instead?" "He doesn't even care about you." My father immediately became unhappy. "Mother, what are you saying? I am her real father. How could I not care about her?" Grandmother couldn't be bothered to say more to him and said coldly, "Why aren't you going to find the physician? Yes." My father looked at grandmother and ran out feeling wrong to find the physician. I sniffled and burrowed into grandmother's arms. In my past life, I had grown distant from grandmother and fallen out with father, and hadn't been treated gently for a long time. From that day on, Jiangxia never came out to discuss me again. I also started to get a bit anxious. Time was passing too quickly. By autumn, the barbarian tribes would break through Yanmen and charge straight into capital city. I had to find a way to get the whole family to move before then. Or get the court to strengthen Yanmen's defenses. In my past life, it was probably after Xiaoboyan left Yanmen that the defenses there weakened, which gave the barbarian tribes their opportunity. But Xiaoboyan had been stationed away from the capital for 10 years, and finally returned. He probably didn't want to go back to Yanmen either. Then who else could go? What a headache. I don't know if Brother Lin was delayed on the road or what, but he still hasn't arrived. Half a month later, my birthday arrived. For a birthday, naturally, it is all about eating well, drinking well, and sleeping well that day after I finish my lunch. I was lying on the swing sound asleep when Zhao Bei came running in and said, "News from the Palace Crown Prince is coming to celebrate your birthday. You should get ready and prepare to receive him." I was very unhappy. What is that damn Crown Prince coming for? Most likely Empress told him to come, really. Disturbing my good sleep? Nothing to prepare? We'll deal with it when he gets here. I closed my eyes and went back to sleep. When I woke up again, it was almost dark. I rubbed my eyes, stretched my back, and walked to the front hall. Zhao Bei hurried over. "Miss, you are finally awake. Crown Prince has been waiting for you for hours. He has had 2 whole pots of tea." I was stunned. "Then why didn't you wake me?" "His Highness wouldn't let me. He said to wait for you to wake up on your own." "Oh, then it is not my fault." I slowly walked to the front hall, saw Xiaozi, and yawned. "Oh, your Highness is here." Xiaozi put down his teacup, his expression displeased, eyes showing barely suppressed anger. "Finally awake, Zhang Wu. You knew perfectly well that I was coming, yet you just kept sleeping." I was somewhat speechless. "You didn't wake me. If you just sent someone to wake me up, I would have gotten up. Besides, how was I supposed to know he'd wait here for me this long?" Hearing this, Xiaozi got even angrier, his face turning blue. There was a pretty box on the table. I reached out and picked it up. "What is this?" I opened the box and saw it was a jewelry set, all in the latest styles and finest materials, inlaid with rubies and sapphires, very exquisite. "So pretty, is it for me?" I happily took out a hairpin and put it in my hair, admiring myself. Xiaozi said gloomily, "This is a jewelry set Mother specially had made for you. Consider it a birthday gift." "So it is from Her Majesty the Empress. Her Majesty the Empress is so kind. I thought it was from your Highness." He watched me spin around admiring myself, his expression softening a bit as he reached into his chest, saying, "I also have something for you, but I figure your Highness wouldn't have time to prepare a gift for me anyway, and even if you did, I wouldn't want it." I took off the hairpin and pouted. When I looked up, I found his face had darkened again. "Huh, your Highness, why are you reaching into your chest?" He glared at me and said irritably, "It itches, scratching it." After Xiaozi left my place, he went to talk with my father. The two of them both served at court, so they probably discussed official matters. The moment he left, grandmother came looking for me. She grabbed my hand, beaming with joy. "Zhao Zhao, Brother Lin has arrived in the capital. Go greet him quickly." I was taken aback. "Can't we just have the butler go greet him?" Grandmother complained. "How can that be acceptable? The Lin family has been close friends with us for generations. The host family must go to receive them to show proper respect. I am too old to move around, and your father is busy right now. Wouldn't it be just right for you to go?" "Oh, come on, grandmother, your scheming is so loud, even the Shangnu can hear it. You just want me to take this chance to get close to Brother Lin, right? I am not stupid." "I won't go. I am not going," just as I was about to run. Grandmother's face darkened. "Awu, have I been spoiling you too much lately? Help. I am really afraid of her, getting serious. It is bloodline suppression." I stammered and hesitated. Unwilling to go, grandmother said sternly, "Do you think I would harm you? Hurry up, your brother Lin's carriage is about to enter the city. Go wait for him." Unable to resist, I had no choice but to get on the carriage and go receive him. As night fell and lanterns were just being lit, the streets were crowded with oil sellers, fruit sellers, and fan and lantern sellers, bustling and lively. The carriage struggled through the crowds. Just as we were nearing the south gate, I suddenly heard a commotion ahead, followed by a sharp cry that pierced through the prosperity. Catch the assassin." Screams erupted all around. Chaos ensued like a boiling pot of porridge. Jalby hurriedly lifted the carriage curtain and said, "Miss, come out quickly." However, the horse was startled, and she was thrown off. I panicked, desperately clutching the window frame, but was still tossed around dizzy and disoriented. My insides were all shaken and aching. Just when I thought I was done for, I suddenly heard a few sounds of taming horses, and the carriage slowly came to a stop. The carriage curtain was suddenly lifted open. "Are you all right?" A familiar voice rang out. I looked up to see Xiao Boyan leaning over me. Like a deity descending from heaven, I almost burst into tears right then. High dry-heaved ex-Xiao Boyan supported me without dodging, as if he wasn't afraid of me vomiting on him. After I recovered, I asked him, "Why is it you?" I was returning from outside the city and happened to come across chaos in the city, with carriages and horses running wild. I saw from afar that it was your carriage, so I came. I shook my head with a smile. "You only took action because you saw it was my carriage. If it wasn't me, you wouldn't have bothered." He smiled faintly and said matter-of-factly, "Naturally. Why would I bother with people who have nothing to do with me?" I was stunned for a moment. I didn't know if it was his coldness that shocked me, or if I was surprised that in his heart I was actually someone connected to him, someone worth saving. So last time outside the city, I had also stumbled upon making him break his rules for me. Thinking of this, I actually felt a little bit happy. The curtain was yanked open once more, and Jalby's panicked voice rang out. "Miss, are you all right? 9th Prince Xiao Boyan had no title." So Jalby didn't know how to address him for a moment and simply called him 9th Prince. He glanced at Jalby, helped me up, and asked, "You are going out so late, what are you planning to do?" I was stunned. He looked at me, waiting. I had no choice but to tell him hesitantly, I am going to pick up a distant cousin." It was just meant to be a brush-off, but unexpectedly he remembered clearly what I had said before. He raised his eyebrows and said, Could it be that Lin family brother who is supposed to discuss marriage with you? Your family sent you to pick him up. They must be very satisfied with him and really hope you two can be together." "Not really. I didn't want to go. It is my grandmother who insisted I must go." He nodded and plopped down beside me. "I'll go with you, huh?" With an upright expression, he said, "The south part of the city is a bit chaotic right now. If you go alone, it might not be safe. With me there, nothing will go wrong." Then how do I explain this to people? Just say, "I am your house servant." That is so embarrassing. House servant feels kind of awkward. Zhao Bi sat outside, and the carriage set off again, heading to the south gate to wait. I got out of the carriage, looking around while feeling melancholic. Grandmother must really like the Lin family brother in both lifetimes. She has wanted me to marry him. If I went along with her wishes, she would definitely be very happy. Besides, the Lin family brother later became an important minister. No matter how I think about it, he is a perfect husband. But somehow my heart is in chaos, and I am not looking forward to seeing him at all. Could it be because of Xiao Boyan? I was frightened by my own thought and hurriedly fanned myself to dispel the burning heat. In less than the time it takes to drink half a cup of tea, a young gentleman with servants entered through the south gate, dressed in plain clothes with a clean temperament and quite handsome in appearance. Seeing the small banner with the character Zhang held in Jalby's hand, he walked straight toward us. He cupped his hands, neither humble nor arrogant, and bowed, saying, "I am Lin Jingyu from Yuzhou. May I ask if you are all from the Marquis Manor of Ping'an?" I hurried forward, curtsied, and said, "Cousin Lin, I am Zhang Wu. Grandmother sent me to receive you. So it is my cousin. Tonight is cousin's birthday, and yet I am troubling you to come receive me. I, Lin, truly feel undeserving of this." Lin Jingyu felt very embarrassed. His face even turned red. "It is fine. Grandmother is concerned about Cousin Lin's exhausting journey and feared neglecting you, so she sent me. Cousin Lin, where is your carriage?" Lin Jingyu seemed a bit awkward for a moment. "I don't have a carriage." I remembered now. Lin Jingyu is still a poor scholar at this point. He walked all the way here. I felt awkward too. I had only brought one carriage out. Grandmother didn't remind me either. But then again, why would she remind me? She'd love nothing more than for the two of us to ride in the same carriage. She had it all figured out. I made a gesture of invitation. Then you forget it. Let's just walk back. Since I am out in the capital city, I'd like to walk around and take a look anyway. All right then, this Lin Jingyu is actually quite an easygoing person. After taking a couple of steps, he awkwardly tried to make conversation with me, asking for Xiaobi's name, the coachman's name, and greeted them all. Finally, he asked for Xiaoboyan's name. Xiaoboyan remained composed, bowed slightly, and said, "I am Wu Xiaozhang, Mrs. Study Boy. Brother Wu, pleased to meet you." Lin Jingyu paid his respects to Xiaoboyan, looked at him, and said with regretful admiration, "I can see Brother Wu has an extraordinary bearing. Being a study boy is really beneath your talents." Xiaoboyan smiled faintly. "Not beneath me at all. Being able to stay by Mrs. side is Wu's good fortune." Hearing these words, I suddenly felt my face flush and my heart race. Lin Jingyu nodded and said nothing more. The atmosphere became awkward again. Don't tell me I really have to go all the way home with him and let grandmother forcibly pair us up. I stole a glance at Xiaoboyan, who was following closely behind me, feeling uneasy inside. Too bad he is still a criminal official right now. Even if I were willing, everyone in the Jiang family from top to bottom wouldn't agree to it. I really had no feelings for this Lin Jingyu, and really didn't want to be forced together with him. As we got closer and closer to home, once we actually went inside, it would be even harder to handle. I was so anxious my palms were sweating, trying to figure out how to tactfully tell Lin Jingyu not to get any ideas about me, but Lin Jingyu suddenly stopped. "Cousin Zhang," he looked at me, seeming to want to say something, yet somewhat hesitant. My heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" At this moment, I was really afraid he'd suddenly say he was here to ask for my hand in marriage, but instead, he bowed to me. "Cousin Zhang, I've thought it over and over, and I still feel I should speak frankly." He gritted his teeth and said, "Before coming to the capital, the Marquis Manor had already hinted at wanting me to ask for your hand in marriage, but Lin Jingyu feels unworthy of Cousin Zhang. And moreover, I already have someone I love. It took me a while to react." What did he say? He doesn't like me. Lin Jingyu thought I was very upset, apologizing to me while expressing his resolve. I know I've wronged Cousin Zhang, but I also cannot let down the one I love, though she is from a poor family and is a mute girl. In my eyes, she is the best, the very best woman. Even if you gave me a princess or a fairy, I wouldn't trade her. In this life, I'll marry no one but her. He loves a mute girl, he won't marry me. How could I blame him? I am grateful to him, if anything. Overjoyed, I bowed to Lin Jingyu, "Cousin Lin. I understand your feelings, I respect you and support you. I'll have a good talk with grandmother and definitely won't force you." Lin Jingyu looked at me with delight and said, "Thank you, Cousin Zhang. You are so understanding. You'll surely find a good husband. I won't enter the manor then." "Cousin Zhang, farewell." "Oh, right. Cousin Zhang, happy birthday." "Thank you. Take care, Cousin Lin." Lin Jingyu bowed deeply once more, then left with his old servant, walking away with cheerful little steps. That little mute girl, she really has such good fortune. I suddenly felt a lump in my throat and turned to look at Xiaoboyan. His eyes were full of smiles. "What is going on? Don't tell me I am so unlucky that I ruined your wonderful marriage." "Humph, pay up. I don't have money, but I'll compensate you with something else." He looked toward the direction of the river and snapped his fingers. In an instant, several thunderous booms erupted as massive fireworks exploded, dazzling and brilliant, covering half the sky. Cries of amazement came from the streets. Xiaoboyan looked at me with a smile, his eyes sparkling like they were filled with stars. "Zhang Wu, happy birthday." This time I really cried. I asked him through my sobs, "Wu, when did you arrange this?" "At the South Gate, when I heard Lin Jingyu say tonight was your birthday. I secretly had people prepare it. Damn, that was way too sneaky. I had no idea at all. Thank you, Xiaoboyan." I lunged forward and hugged him around the waist. Xiaobai was scared out of her wits. After all, for a young lady from a respectable family to be hugging and holding a man was quite improper. Miss, you mustn't." She hurriedly pulled me off him. The fireworks burned for a full tea time, drawing out even those who had already gone to bed to watch. Such a grand gesture Xiaoboyan must have spent every penny he had. After the sky went dark, an evening breeze blew away the smoke. Everything returned to calm, as if nothing had happened at all. Xiaoboyan said softly, "Let's go back," okay, reluctantly. I was about to go back. A squad of Imperial Guards ran past not far away. I stopped and asked Xiaoboyan, "The assassin at the South Gate still hasn't been caught?" "Probably not." "Who is that assassin? The exact identity is still unknown, but according to eyewitnesses, they might be a barbarian." A barbarian? A barbarian. I suddenly got excited. Xiao Boyan looked at me, a bit puzzled. You seem very happy. Of course I am happy. I forgot to hide it. And my mouth ran ahead of me. The court has been comfortable for over a decade and has long stopped guarding against the barbarians. With this incident as a trigger, the court might finally take it seriously and strengthen the defense at Yanmen. He was even more puzzled. What does this have to do with Yanmen? I froze, suddenly coming to my senses. Oh no, what am I saying? I hemmed and hawed for a while, then made up an excuse. I had a dream. Dreaming that Yemen was broken through by the barbarians, their army reached the capital city and countless people died. Just because of a dream. Yea, after all, this is my homeland. I nodded vigorously. Then I tentatively asked Xiao Boyan, why don't you want to return to Yanmen? Guarding Yanmen, protecting our homeland. He cut me off, his gaze ice cold. This is not my homeland, this land is not worth my protection. I was stunnedly. I understood that concubine Yan's death must have caused him an incurable wound, and he had no feelings for the entire country. He has his own thoughts, and I don't need to force anything. Then where will you go from now on? Meow territory. His gaze fell on somewhere far away as he said softly, back to my mother's homeland. The sky was dim, a lone bird cried out, and capital city quieted down. So he is going back to Meow territory. I felt a bit lost, but also helpless about it. All right then, I am going home. I waved at him and ran toward my front door. By the time I got home, it was already quite late. Bizarrely, Xiaozi still hadn't left. He was standing at the main gate, chatting absent-mindedly with my family's guards about something. Obviously, he'd been seen out to here but refused to leave. My family's guards had talked themselves dry and didn't want to deal with him anymore. Seeing me, Xiaozi's eyes lit up, then he looked behind me. You are back. How come you are alone? I was confused. What does your highness mean? He sneered and said, didn't you say you went to pick up that cousin of yours from the Lin family? Did you pick him up? How did it go talking with your Lin family cousin? Is the marriage settled? He even knows about that. He has been hanging around my house this long without leaving. Don't tell me he is just waiting to see me make a fool of myself. That bastard, I rolled my eyes and said irritably, my Lin family cousin didn't want to come. He is going back to his hometown to marry the one he loves. Xiaozi froze, then his face lit up with joy. See, I told you. With that temper of yours, no one's gonna like you. What is he so happy about? This bastard crown prince just can't stand to see me doing well. I was about to curse at him when I suddenly heard a soft, gentle voice. Your highness, it is hot out. This humble girl cut some watermelon. Please have a taste, your highness. I froze. Zhang Siwei. Wasn't she forbidden from leaving the small courtyard? Is she panicking and acting rashly because she is afraid of being married off randomly? Not eating. Xiaozi looked at me with a playful grin, blabbering on. Zhang Wu, what are you going to do now? No one wants you anymore. How about I take pity on you? Your highness, this melon is especially sweet. Please have a bite. Her jade-like hands held the melon, offering it right in front of Xiaozi's face. The smile on Xiaozi's face vanished instantly. He turned around with a sinister air and asked her, Who are you? Zhang Siyue thought Xiaozi was going to acknowledge her. She lowered her eyes and said gently, This humble girl is the second granddaughter of the Marquis of Ping'an. Zhang Siyue, the Marquis of Ping'an only has one granddaughter. What the hell are you? Zhang Siyue froze, suddenly at a loss, this humble girl. You tactless thing, you've ruined my good mood. Zhang Wu control the people in your family. He glanced at me and left in anger. How strange in this lifetime. He doesn't like Zhang Siyue. I curtsied slightly to see him off, then turned to look at Zhang Siyue with a stern expression. Who told you to come out, making a fool of yourself? Zhang Siyue's eyes brimmed with tears. Her humiliation unspoken, Zhang Yushi ran out, scolding with false concern. Siyue, why did you come out? Hurry back inside with mother. There are evil ghosts in the Zhang family. They eat people. I could naturally tell she was making indirect criticisms, but I was too lazy to bother with her and just walked off on my own. When I went to report to grandmother in her room, she was combing her hair with my father, attending to her. Oh my Zhao Zhao, you are back. Why didn't you send word earlier? Look at what a state I am in. I hurriedly pressed her down. Grandmother Brother Lin has something to attend to. He is not coming. Why isn't he coming then? It must be something urgent that kept him from coming. Don't worry about it. So what do you think of Brother Lin? I feigned shyness. He is very good, grandmother. Brother Lin and I need to get to know each other slowly. From now on, the two of us can meet and talk on our own, please. Don't interfere anymore." "Good, good, good." Grandmother clapped her hands, overjoyed beyond measure. I didn't tell her the truth right away. Before today, Grandmother had already pressured Lin Jingyu, forcing him to marry me. If I told her that Lin Jingyu had someone in his heart, knowing her style, she might very well tear them apart. Better to keep it hidden for now. Once Lin Jingyu finishes his exams and returns home to marry that little mute girl, then I'll come clean with Grandmother. My father suddenly asked, "Wu, when you came in, did you see Crown Prince?" I had nothing to say to him and tried to send him off 3 times, but he kept dawdling and didn't want to leave, so I just left him at the entrance. To think such a thing happened. I couldn't help but chuckle. He left, probably he likes the crabapple blossoms at our entrance and wanted to look at them a bit longer. Crown Prince was really strange today. As they were talking, a guard ran in and reported, "Master, there was a commotion with assassins at the south gate just now. They've been captured and the department wants you to go help with the interrogation." My father was shocked. What assassins? The details are still unknown, but supposedly they seem to be barbarians. How strange. The barbarians haven't troubled our dynasty for over a decade. How is it that this time? They've actually made it into the capital city. I was secretly pleased, thinking this might be a good opportunity to talk to Father and have him suggest the court strengthen defenses against the barbarians. But before I could speak, Grandmother had already seen this angle. The barbarians have been silent for years and suddenly appear. I am afraid they're about to make a big move soon. War. When you attend court tomorrow, you must earnestly beseech His Majesty the Emperor to be vigilant, expand the military, and guard against barbarian invasion. Truly worthy of being a marchioness who had campaigned for many years. Her insight was so keen. My father smiled and said, "Yes, Mother need not worry. Even if you hadn't said so, your son would have submitted the memorial." Grandmother nodded. There are many court officials. What I can think of, they can think of too. You may go." My father bowed before heading out to conduct the interrogation that very night. My father didn't make it in time for the interrogation of the assassins. Those people, not long after entering the heavenly prison, bit down on poison and committed suicide, although they didn't extract any information. At least they confirmed these people were barbarians, which caught the court's attention. Some people in the court began suggesting expanding military forces and strengthening Yanmen's defenses. Though these were only minor measures, still, having something was better than nothing. I really have to thank those assassins for this. However, I am also a bit puzzled. In my previous life, were there also barbarian assassins who entered the capital and caused such chaos? If so, why didn't the court react at all? Thinking it over, I figure that in my previous life, the court probably did respond somehow. It is just that I was so obsessed with becoming the crown princess that I didn't pay attention to these matters. The troops have been expanding for half a month, but we still can't find a suitable commander. Our dynasty has been at peace for so many years that most people have long forgotten how to fight wars. My dad's been really stressed lately. I am stressed too. I've never cared about outsiders before, but these days I've started asking around about which family's sons are fierce. Which family's sons are promising, wanting to get in touch with them and convince them to go defend Yanmen. This matter actually reached Xiaozi's ears. On my way home, he grabbed me and angrily asked why I was flirting with random men everywhere. I couldn't be bothered to get into such a petty argument with him, so I covered my ears and ran off. A few days later, there was the Empress's birthday banquet. A grand feast was held in the palace, and our family was invited. I think this is an opportunity. Although the court has made some moves recently, it has only been a little and they haven't taken it too seriously. His Majesty, the Emperor, may seem like he no longer believes in supernatural things, but deep down he really cares about them. Otherwise, back then, Consort Yan's witchcraft scandal wouldn't have blown up so big. Since I can enter the palace this time, why not make up some stories and exaggerate a bit? His Majesty, the Emperor, might just listen. On the day of the birthday banquet, I dressed up carefully and entered the palace with Grandmother. It wasn't just our family who was invited this time. The family members of officials ranked second grade and above in the court had almost all arrived. I figured the Empress probably also intended to take this opportunity to select a crown princess for Xiaozi before. The banquet started, I sat in the front, and behind me came the low murmuring of women from other families. That is Jiang Wu. I heard she is usually the most arrogant and domineering, absolutely lawless. Just the other day, she even beat someone in public. Yeah, you are only hearing about this now. She just loves bullying people. Now she is the infamous villainess of the capital city. You remember Zhang Xiyue? I haven't seen her out and about for quite a few days. Who knows, maybe Jiang Wu already killed her. How terrifying. I heard she has been discussing marriage recently. Whichever family marries her is in for some serious bad luck. How ridiculous. Probably rumors spread by those young ladies I beat up before. Looks like my reputation as a villainess has really gotten around. I sighed and lowered my head to eat some fruit. Grandmother beside me suddenly pressed down on my hand. Jiao Jiao, don't mind what others say. She looked at me, her eyes full of tender affection. What they think doesn't matter. It is enough that grandmother knows you are not that kind of person. Even if no one is willing to marry you, you'll always have grandmother to cherish you. I froze for a moment. The world sees me as tainted. Yet, there is still one person who believes in me and has my back. How incredibly fortunate. I curved my lips into a smile, hiding the tears in my eyes. After about half a cup of tea's time, the emperor and empress arrived. After everyone wished the empress 1,000 auspicious birthdays together. They began drinking and making merry, as well as taking turns calling out daughters from various families to perform and display their talents. I looked around ahead but didn't see Xiao Boyan. Suddenly it dawned on me that with his status, he probably couldn't come to this kind of place. But Xiao Zi was quite idle, sitting below the emperor and empress. Drinking sullenly, he didn't watch the talent performances at all, his gaze constantly being cast toward me. I was worried for a while that he was going to mess with me, but he didn't. After drinking a full 2 pots of wine, he disappeared. I had eaten too much fruit, and after a while I felt an urgent need. So I left my seat to relieve myself. Walking along the garden path, I suddenly heard Xiaozi's voice, drunk and slurring. He seemed quite indignant. Don't stop me, I can still drink, a young eunuch beside him said urgently. Your Highness, please go back and rest for a while. In this state, it wouldn't be proper to go out. I am the crown prince, who dares say I am improper. Tonight, she didn't even glance at me once. Can you believe it? I have to go ask her. Ask who? While I was puzzled, these two had already bumped right into me. Zhangwu Xiaoza saw me, staggered over, and grabbed my wrist. You, what are you doing running out here? I was startled and quickly said, I need to pee, I came to relieve myself. Let go of me quick, leave the palace. Why leave the palace? I won't allow you to go. He panicked, the corners of his eyes reddening. You've barely stayed for an hour and you want to leave already. Do you really not want to see me that badly? I don't know what madness came over me, struggling hard to pry his hands off. What are you talking about? Let go of me right now. You are not allowed to leave. You can't leave. I am the crown prince. How dare you defy my wishes? He pulled me into his arms and like a rabid dog bit down hard on my shoulder. The eunuch who came with him was terrified and hastily tried to stop him, but was kicked away. Scram, anyone who disobeys dies. He gripped my hand tightly, dragging me toward the artificial hill. Let go of me, let go. I was terrified, screaming in shock, but he pressed me against the rocks of the artificial hill and tore my outer garment. He lowered his head, trying to kiss me, completely disregarding my desperate struggle. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't break free, and I started crying. Please let me go, Xiaozi, don't touch me. You. What right do you have to reject me? His gaze was crazed, tears welling in his eyes. You are the one who said you'd marry no one but me in this lifetime, then turned around and abandoned me. What right do you have? Yes, I treated you badly before, but that was because I thought you were a spy planted by Mother Empress. Now I know you are not. Zhang Wu, why did you suddenly stop liking me? You are insane, let go, let go. I screamed and cried hoarsely, but he only intensified, biting through my lip. Disgusting, so fucking disgusting. The eunuchs outside didn't dare come over. I was utterly desperate. My hand suddenly touched a stone. I gritted my teeth. Worst case, we'd perish together. I've died once already. What do I have to fear? I raised my hand, about to fight with everything I had, but the crown prince suddenly took a blow to the head and fell to the ground. Tears rolled down and the scene before me became clear. Xiao Boyan? He took off his outer garment, wrapped me up, helped me leave. his voice trembling slightly. "It is me." In the palace, there were rooms specially prepared for ladies to change clothes. His expression was grim as he dismissed the others and brought me inside. "Wait here, I'll go call your maidservant to bring you clothes." Shalboyan, I frantically grabbed hold of him. "The Crown Prince is the Crown Prince. All right, you hurt him. Will they charge you with a crime?" He didn't answer clearly. He didn't know either. I asked him with a choked voice, "Why did you help me because you were in trouble?" That is not an answer at all. I grabbed his arm, looking at him, word by word. "Shalboyan, do you like me?" His expression remained calm, his fists clenched tight. Then from his chest came a faint sound. So it is true, so it really is true. Right now, I truly don't know whether I should be happy or not. What do you like about me? Haven't you heard what people outside say? I am the most vicious and mean woman in the world. I've heard it. Let me tell you, what they say is all true. I really am bad, and I like to bully people. He looked at me and smiled gently. I just like the way you bully people. I was stunned and quickly said, This is perverted. This is twisted love. You like it because I haven't bullied you yet. Then come bully me. Sick, sick, sick. He laughed. Then just consider me sick. Then he suddenly asked, "Why did you collect information on so many men the other day and invite them to meet at the tea house? Were you choosing a husband for yourself?" "Of course not." I hastily explained I wanted to find some capable and ambitious young men to persuade them to go guard Yang Gate. He froze. "Guard Yang Gate? That is something the court should worry about. What does it have to do with you? Yang Gate is the gateway to the capital city. Once it falls, our home and country will cease to exist. The rise and fall of the nation is everyone's responsibility. I can't just stand by and watch." After a moment of silence, he said, "It seems this matter is very important to you. Of course, this is my home." After saying that, I felt a bit regretful. Why was I telling him all this? All he has for this place is hatred. Shalboyan smiled and said nothing more, only saying, "Go in," then closed the door. About the time it takes to drink a cup of tea later, Xiaobi and grandmother both rushed over, and the Empress also arrived shortly after. This matter was of great importance, so not too many people were alarmed. This incident was dealt with secretly. The Crown Prince, having lost virtue, was confined to the Eastern Palace to reflect on his mistakes. Although Shalboyan had merit in saving me, he committed insubordination and injured the Crown Prince. So he was beaten with 20 strikes of the rod. Once he could walk again, he had to leave the capital and was never allowed to return. The day after I returned to the residence, Shao Zuqing woke up. Though he couldn't leave the Eastern Palace, he sent me a letter. The letter was full of earnest words and remorse, saying yesterday was his fault, he was wrong, and asking me to forgive him. The letter also said that although his behavior was reckless, everything he said came from his heart. I didn't read further and burned it. Even without the grievances I suffered in my past life, I couldn't forgive his conduct yesterday. Half a month after this incident, Shalboyan left the capital. His Majesty the Emperor was disgusted with him and ordered him to return to his Miao territory as soon as possible. On the morning he left, I secretly went to the South City Gate to see him off, but I didn't see him. I asked the soldiers guarding the gate, and only then did someone tell me that the 9th Prince Shalboyan had left through the North City Gate. Why leave through the North Gate? Isn't the Miao territory accessed from the South Gate? Miao territory, the soldier scratched his head. Didn't they say he was going to Yanmen? I froze for a moment, then quickly turned and ran toward the North City Gate. I ran until my lungs felt like bursting, and finally caught up with the horse convoy that was just leaving the city. Shalboyan was riding his horse with his attendants, leading at the front. I frantically ran up, pushed through the crowd, and grabbed onto his horse. "Shalboyan," he startled. "Why are you here?" They said, "You are going to Yanmen." He tightened his grip on the reins. "Yes, weren't you supposed to return to Miao territory? Did they force you to do this?" "No, I requested His Majesty the Emperor myself to let me guard Yemen." "Why?" His hand tightened on the reins. As he looked down at me, his eyes soft, taking a deep breath, he said, "Because there is still someone here worth protecting. For this person, I am willing to return to Yanmen." I froze, unable to speak for a long time. "Zhang Wu, you must take good care of yourself. Live peacefully and happily." He stopped looking at me, pulled tight the reins, and rode away, Xiaoboyan. I chased after the shrinking figure in the dust, shouting hoarsely, "You have to write to me when you get there. Don't you forget about me." No one responded. Yellow sand filled the sky, and finally I could no longer see him. After returning home, grandmother was furious. "Ah Wu, why did you go see off that criminal official? Do you know how much suspicion this will bring upon the Jiang family?" I quietly listened to the scolding, and when grandmother tired of speaking, I kowtowed on the ground. "Grandmother, Ah Wu knows she was wrong. Please punish Ah Wu. Here we go again. What is the point of me punishing you?" Grandmother shed tears, came down, and held me in her arms. "Ah Wu, you are the only precious child left in the Jiang family. How else can grandmother cherish you? Whether I scold you or lecture you, it is all for your future. Why won't you listen to grandmother?" Leaning in her embrace, I murmured, "I know, grandmother, I know it all. If you know what is good for you, listen to grandmother. Just let grandmother arrange everything. Wouldn't it be nice to live a peaceful life, okay?" I nodded and hugged grandmother. I decided to obediently listen to grandmother, never make her angry again, and accept her arrangements. After that day, grandmother started arranging my marriage again. I don't know where she met Lin Jingyu, but she found out about him going back home to marry the little mute girl. Then she turned around and came to question me. I dropped to my knees with a thud. As long as I kneel fast enough, she won't have time to get angry. "Please don't make things difficult for Lin Jingyu. He has someone he loves." "Grandmother, let's pick someone else." This time she only sighed for a long while, then let me off after nursing a headache for some time. She decided to pick another good young man from another family. Just then, I actually received a letter from the north. The name signed on the envelope was Wu Xiaojiang in an instant. I understood this was Xiaoboyan using an alias, afraid the letter would be intercepted. I opened the envelope, and several flowers and plants I'd never seen before fell out, still fragrant, in the letter. Xiaoboyan described to me in detail what Yanmen was like, what the people of Yanmen ate, what they wore, and what they liked to do on ordinary days. At the end of the letter, he also wished me luck in finding a good husband, and asked me to send him a jar of wine when I get married in the future. I didn't expect him to actually send me a letter. Clutching those papers, I cried for a long time, then hurriedly wrote back, urging him to write often, and then secretly had someone deliver it out. He received it, and after that, he actually started writing to me often about what he ate each day. What he saw, every little detail, he wrote it all to me. In the calm and dull capital city, it gave me something to look forward to and someone to care about. Such peaceful days were shattered in October, because the barbarian tribe launched a surprise attack on Yanmen. I didn't know the specifics of the battle, only heard that in one night, countless people died or were injured. And His Majesty the Emperor decided to abandon Yanmen and relocate the capital south. This meant that from now on, Yanmen would fall into a desperate situation with enemy forces ahead, and no reinforcements behind. I ran home like crazy, wanting to ask my father if it was really true. When I got home, everyone was already packing their things. Grandmother grabbed me and scolded me. "Zhao Zhao, you worried grandmother to death. Where did you run off to? Hurry and pack your things, we have to leave before sunset." "Grandmother, is the court really going south?" Grandmother let out a sigh. "The court has been at peace for decades. It has been too long since we've had war. There are hardly any people left who know how to fight. No one has confidence. The south has mountains and rivers crisscrossing, easy to defend and hard to attack. To save more people, the only plan now is to relocate the capital south." I got anxious. Then what about Yanmen? What about the people of Yanmen? What will happen to them? Grandmother's eyes welled up with tears, and she said nothing. My father sighed. "They die for the country. It is the highest honor. They will be remembered forever." Who wants this fucking honor? I want them to live. I cried out, and with courage I'd never had before surging through me, I rushed outside. "Zhao Zhao, where are you going? You are not going to look for that criminal official. Are you, Zhao Zhao?" Grandmother nearly fell while chasing after me. I turned back to look at her, crying as I kowtowed to her. "Grandmother, forgive Zhao Zhao for being disobedient again this time." I got up to run, but was blocked by the guards. I simply drew a blade and held it to my throat. One more step forward and I'll slit my throat right here. Grandmother was held back by my father, crying so hard she almost fainted. "Zhao Zhao, put it down. You are going to kill your grandmother." I am sorry. He returned to Yan Gate for me. If I went south, I'd never have peace for the rest of my life. No one dared to come forward. I seized a horse and rode straight for Yan Gate. I rode day and night, changing horses several times along the way, finally arriving at Yan Gate 10 days later. The horse stopped and I collapsed, breathing with difficulty, nearly dying. A soldier came forward to check, not daring to let me enter the city. I could only grab his trouser leg and beg him, "Tell Xiao Boyan that Zhang requests an audience." The soldier hurried inside. After the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, the city gate opened, and a general reeking of blood came running toward me. Zhang, his hands trembling, he picked me up, delighted yet furious. "What are you doing here? You should have just gone south with them. What are you doing running here?" I bit my teeth, tears falling one after another. "Xiao Boyan, I've come to die together with you." His eyes instantly reddened. "Who asked you to die together with me if you refuse?" "I'll die right now. Zhang, what am I supposed to do with you?" He held me tight, and the moment his scalding tears fell into the hollow of my neck, I knew I had come to the right place. The defensive situation at Yanmen was dire. After that battle half a month ago, we suffered heavy losses, but there was no time to recover at all. Xiao Boyan took me to the pass. The soldiers were repairing the city walls. A few miles away, there were densely packed enemy tents, so oppressive it was suffocating. With such a disparity in strength, Yemen probably really couldn't hold out. But I wasn't afraid, at least in this lifetime. Even if I died, I wouldn't die with regrets. That night, I slept in Xiao Boyan's room. The weather had already turned cold. After bathing, I shivered and burrowed into the covers. After Xiao Boyan came in, he didn't even take off his armor and just sat on the floor by the bed. "You are not coming up." He closed his eyes and didn't even look at me. "Just go to sleep like a good girl." "I won't." I stretched out my foot and nudged him, imitating how Jiang Siwa had coaxed Jiaozi in my past life, and started acting cute. "Boyan Gege, it is cold, I can't get warm." Xiao Boyan sighed softly, but still wouldn't look at me. He got up to leave. "Then I'll go get you a basin of charcoal fire, don't." "Charcoal is precious, what a waste." Boyan Gege looked, "This bed is so big, it can fit 2 people perfectly." His ears instantly turned red, his Adam's apple bobbed, and he forcefully held back from turning around. "Wu, stop teasing me anymore. I am afraid of what I might do." "Do what?" I sat up and wrapped my arms around his waist. "I came here alone, already planning to entrust my entire life and fortune to you." "Xiao Boyan, do you really not understand?" He suddenly opened his eyes and turned to look at me, his gaze like a beast's. "Aren't you afraid you'll regret it in the future?" "My future is your future." "Xiao Boyan, didn't you tell me to bully you? Come, let me bully you." "Wu, you really are a temptress." His gaze lingered on my lips, and finally unable to hold back, he lowered his head and kissed me. What happened after that naturally doesn't need to be said. After that, I changed into a foot soldier's clothes and helped out in the city. The barbarian tribe launched attacks almost every day, but each time we held them off until mid-November. A 1,000-man barbarian unit trekked over mountains and rivers, bypassed the pass, struck at our rear, and cut off our only supply line. Yanmen finally became an isolated city. Xiao Boyan still resisted desperately. As long as Yanmen didn't fall, the barbarian army couldn't move south, and more common people inside the pass could be evacuated. He once said that the land behind him wasn't worth protecting, but now he told me to rest assured. He said he would hold out for me until the very last moment, until his blood was spilled beneath the city walls. By the end of November, with arrows and provisions exhausted, we truly couldn't hold on anymore. I was so hungry my eyes went dark, and I passed out in a corner by the city wall. I thought, I am probably going to die. In the chaos, a voice suddenly rang out in my mind. "Jiang Wu, wake up, wake up. Don't just die like this," I murmured back. "Who are you?" "Who I am doesn't matter. Jiang Wu, wake up. Don't die. Your rebirth was made possible because someone repented for 10 years before the Earth Monarch's seat, exchanging their own fortune for the next 10 lifetimes to bring you back. Don't die." Who? Who made that exchange? I jolted awake. But the voice had disappeared. Thinking back on it, I couldn't even remember whether it was a man's voice or a woman's voice. Using the fortune of the next 10 lifetimes to exchange for my rebirth? Who would do such a thing? That voice just now said, "Repented for 10 years. That means that person wronged me." Crown Prince's face actually floated up in my mind. It couldn't be him. How could he have regrets? What bad luck? Probably just a dream. I stopped thinking about it and climbed up the city tower to find Xiaoboyan. Sitting on the ground with him, we endured another night. The next day, we really couldn't hold on anymore. We sat on the city tower, watching the barbarian tribe launch another attack on us. His hand already had almost no strength left. When gripping his sword, it shook terribly. Fortunately, we didn't need to go kill enemies, but rather to end our own lives, so as not to fall into the barbarian's hands and be humiliated. Any regrets? No regrets. He smiled and kissed my forehead. Awu. In this life, being able to face death together with you is my fortune. He raised his hand, sword at his throat, and I too picked up my dagger to join him on the road to the Yellow Springs. The setting sun was red as blood. The sound of horns shook the heavens. He and I looked at each other and smiled, then closed our eyes. At this critical moment, the shouts of a young soldier suddenly came from behind. General, reinforcements have arrived. Reinforcements have arrived. Xiaoboyan and I snapped our eyes open, hardly daring to believe it, and hurriedly looked back. Dust filled the sky in the distance. Thousands upon thousands of cavalry were charging toward the pass. Xiaoboyan and I rushed down from the tower to greet them. As the cavalry drew near, I saw the one leading them was a white-robed general with an imposing presence. My eyes were blurry and I couldn't make out the face until that white-robed general cried out hoarsely, "Jiao Jiao, Jiao Jiao Jiao, grandmother." I thought I was dreaming and staggered toward her. She dismounted and rushed toward me, her face splattered with fresh blood, her features almost unrecognizable, only her hot tears washing out 2 white streaks. She held me in her arms. Sobbing uncontrollably, "Jiao Jiao, grandmother is here. How did you get so thin? You are just skin and bones. It is all grandmother's fault for not gathering the troops sooner, letting my Jiao Jiao suffer. Grandmother, it is really you." I choked up and hugged her back. "Grandmother, how did you come? You are old and frail. How can you withstand such hardship? I may be old, but have you forgotten who I am? I am the Marchioness who drove the barbarian tribes 1,000 miles away. Even if I am so old, I am nothing but bones. I can still fight." She said no more and pushed me toward Xiaoboyan. "Take good care of my granddaughter." Then she mounted her horse and shouted, "Open the city gates, meet the enemy." Battle cries shook the heavens, the clash of weapons rang in our ears, and in the yellow sand, grandmother charged straight in with her long spear, unstoppable in her advance. This battle lasted a full day. Grandmother led her troops and once again drove the barbarian tribes hundreds of miles away. I heard that among the enemy army, there were old soldiers who, upon seeing grandmother, couldn't believe she was actually the legendary female general from the rumors. Thinking a deity had descended, they were so terrified they dropped their weapons and fled. Over 30 years ago, the female general had furiously slaughtered the barbarian tribes and was revered as a legend. And today, the legend descended upon Yanmen once again. Yanmen was saved, the capital city was saved too. After this battle, the common folk who had previously relocated gradually returned to the capital city, and naturally the imperial court moved back as well. However, remnants of the barbarian tribes still remained, so Xiaoboyan couldn't leave. From now on, he would have to stay permanently in Yanmen to guard it. Grandmother's old wounds had flared up after the grueling battle, so she couldn't leave either, and since I insisted on staying in Yanmen to be with Xiaoboyan, she definitely couldn't leave. She had originally been vehemently opposed to Xiaoboyan and me being together, but later, Xiaoboyan knelt outside her door for 3 days, begging her to let him marry me. Grandmother finally showed emotion and stopped opposing it. Later, when she saw that Xiaoboyan was indeed treating me well, she felt relieved. She decided to personally arrange our wedding. As for herself, she said she would not return to the capital city. She said her husband was buried in Yemen, and when she died in the future, she would be buried here as well. Before the spring festival, the emperor issued an imperial edict to commend Xiaoboyan. He was no longer a criminal and was enfeoffed as the Prince of Yan, with a fief of 5,000 households. Before marrying him, I had already prepared myself to be a criminal's wife, but unexpectedly I became a princess consort. Not long after the imperial edict was issued, my father arrived at Yanmen with Zhaobi. Something must have happened. My father's hair had turned white, and he looked like he had completely lost face. Upon asking, I found out that my half-sister Zhang Siwei, fearing she couldn't marry into a good family, secretly seduced the worthy prince's heir and climbed into his bed. Now she has been taken into the mansion by the worthy prince, not even as a secondary consort. The worthy prince's consort is domineering. Not only does she suppress Jiang Xiyue every few days, but she also frequently goes to the Jiang mansion to give my father trouble, telling him to take Jiang Xiyue back. Unable to bear it, my father simply ran to Yanmen to hide and find some peace. I felt somewhat wistful. Jiang Xiyue really hasn't changed at all. In the previous life, she climbed into Xiaozi's bed and became a glamorous secondary consort. In this life, her luck wasn't so good. I got married in spring. That day, I received several carts of fine wine. They were personally delivered by Xiaozi. He knew I didn't want to see him, so he didn't come in. He drank alone in a small building in the city all night. The next day, without saying goodbye, he rode his horse at full gallop back to the capital city. In the second year of our marriage, I became pregnant. At that time, grandmother's health was getting worse and worse, and at one point she could only lie in bed. Feeling her days were numbered, from the day she learned of my pregnancy, she began sewing clothes for the little baby. Not knowing if it would be a boy or girl, she sewed for both, working day and night, piling up a whole room full. No matter how we tried to persuade her, she wouldn't stop. That spring, grandmother's lamp ran out of oil, unable to wait for her great-grandchild to be born. She couldn't hold on any longer. I cried as I tried to give her water, but couldn't get a single drop in. Grandmother, please get better. You haven't held your great-grandchild yet. Tears fell onto grandmother's face. She gripped the needle and thread in her hand tightly. Her lips moved and she actually made a faint sound. Zhao Zhao, the baby's clothes grandmother can't sew anymore. You sew them yourself, you still have a whole lifetime ahead. She looked toward Zhao Boyan again. Prince Yan, take good care of her. I will be watching from the underworld. Xiao Boyan's eyes turned completely red. He knelt down, held her hand, and said, Grandmother, rest assured, I will definitely protect her well and absolutely won't let her suffer even the slightest grievance. Grandmother smiled. She looked at me again. Zhao Zhao. Don't cry. It breaks grandmother's heart. Don't cry. Grandmother is very happy. Her withered hand brushed across my cheek, and a tear fell from the corner of her eye. Her voice sounded like it had fallen into an abyss, growing fainter and fainter. Yet the moment I could make it out, it struck like thunder on flat ground. Zhao Zhao. Grandmother is leaving now. In the last life, grandmother failed to protect you and let you go ahead first. In this life, seeing you happy and safe, grandmother is very content, very content, very content. I froze for an instant, then frantically grabbed her hand and asked her, Grandmother, what are you saying? Grandmother, grandmother, grandmother. Her consciousness was no longer clear, her voice coming in fragments as hot tears rolled down. Zhao Zhao, grandmother saw with her own eyes as you jumped from the city tower. Grandmother's heart was utterly shattered. Zhao Zhao Yao, you must take good care. She breathed her last breath and fell silent. I finally knew who had exchanged my rebirth, but she would never wake again. At Yan Gate, there was no longer a lady general, only endless spring. Extra, the Marchioness old madam of the Zhang family did two world-renowned great things in her life. The first was on her wedding day to the heir of the Red Nation Duke's manor, when she tore her wedding gown and jumped into the river to escape the marriage. The second was marrying a general, and after the general fell in battle, taking command of 100,000 troops and driving the barbarian tribes 1,000 miles away. With her own strength alone, she turned the tide in a critical moment and protected countless lives. After that, she saved people from disasters, quelled calamities, and accumulated illustrious military achievements. At the age of 30, she was granted the unprecedented title of female Marquis, bestowed with a python-headed staff that gave her authority to admonish the emperor above and punish ministers below. Everything one could possess in life, she had it all with nothing left to desire for the rest of her life. Her sole purpose for living was to preserve what the general had entrusted to her hands. The Jiang family, old Madame Jiang, had a formidable reputation throughout her life, and she herself possessed an iron-willed character. The word soft had nothing to do with her since the general's death. Even toward her own son, she had never been gentle, until her little granddaughter came into the world. This child lost her mother at birth. So old Madame Jiang had no choice but to keep her by her side and raise her personally. Perhaps it was old age that softened her heart. Holding her, something stirred within her heart. A little person like a pink dumpling who could smile right from birth. Old Madame Jiang looked at her and could never look enough. The child grew day by day, learning to walk and talk, mischievous to the core, always causing trouble. She couldn't bear to scold her, but without scolding. She feared the child would grow crooked, so she could only close her eyes and strike her palm with the discipline ruler. Every time after punishing her, her heart ached terribly. Unwilling to show it, she would return to her room and harshly strike her own palm in return. What old Madame Zhang loved most was hearing her granddaughter recite lessons in that baby voice, reciting, "People are pigs, nature is good." She didn't know if her little granddaughter did it on purpose, but every time it left her not knowing whether to laugh or cry. She loved her like life itself, vowing to teach her well, to let her live in wealth and safety without worry for her entire life. The little granddaughter was fairly obedient. Until she was 13, after seeing the crown prince once in the palace. The little granddaughter changed. Old Madame Zhang didn't like the imperial family. They were the most heartless, with too many women in their lives. How could she bear to let her little granddaughter suffer such grievances? For the first time in ages, she hit her, but no matter how much she beat her, it couldn't stop a young girl's heart from stirring. Instead, she became even more rebellious. Later on, her son brought home a second wife, and the little granddaughter became more rebellious with each passing day. Finally, one day, the little granddaughter insisted on going to the polo match to see the crown prince, encountered assassins, and save the severely wounded crown prince. His Majesty the Emperor decreed their marriage. She was powerless to change things, could only watch helplessly as her little granddaughter stepped into the abyss. She was so angry she lost all reason. That night, she punished the little granddaughter by making her kneel in the Ancestral hall for the entire night. After that, she never saw her again, until she married into the Eastern Palace, with no news whatsoever. She told herself that children and grandchildren have their own fortune. Don't meddle with her anymore. But she couldn't bear to let her go, so she kept sending people to the Eastern Palace to find out how the little granddaughter was doing. She heard that the crown prince treated her very coldly, heard that she cried every day. Her heart ached terribly, but still she stubbornly clung to her pride and refused to go find her. She only thought that once she'd suffered enough, naturally she would regret it and come back to her side, but she never got to see that day. The barbarian tribes invaded, Yanmen fell, and the capital city was conquered too. She heard that the crown prince abandoned the crown princess and fled with his concubine. Anxious and frantic, she rushed at full gallop to find her, but just as she was about to arrive, she watched helplessly as she jumped from the city wall. In that moment, she wailed uncontrollably. The pain felt as if she herself had died. She rushed over to hold her. Suddenly caught sight of the crown prince. Whether it was regret or what, he had actually come back. She cursed him as a coward and demanded, "Didn't you abandon her and flee for your life? What are you doing back here?" The crown prince collapsed to the ground, crying, "I didn't mean to abandon her, I came too late." She didn't want to hear his excuses and slapped him across the face. The crown prince fell to the ground and couldn't get up for a long time until the palace people found him and helped him escape. The court moved south, and old Madame Zhang followed them and went along. Later, the crown prince ascended the throne. She couldn't know the emperor's news, only knew that her step-granddaughter, who was the crown prince's concubine, died under mysterious circumstances in the cold palace. 2 years later, old Madame Zhang died in melancholy. After her death, the underworld messenger brought her before the Earth Lord, saying that she had boundless merit in life, and after death could be ranked among the immortals and become an Earth immortal protecting a region. But she refused. She knelt before the Earth Lord's seat, saying she had no merit, but had instead done a tremendously guilty deed. She said her little granddaughter died unjustly and pleaded for the Earth Lord's mercy to give her little granddaughter a chance to start over. The Earth Lord naturally did not allow it. She could only kneel and plead day after day. It wasn't until she had knelt for 10 full years that the Earth Lord, moved by compassion, finally agreed to exchange her blessings from the next 10 lifetimes for her little granddaughter's rebirth. She hastily kowtowed in gratitude. When she raised her head, she found herself at home where her son was complaining to him. Ah Wu has run off to see the crown prince again, overjoyed and deeply aware of how crucial this day was. She hurried out to find Zhang Wu. Who would have thought she'd come back on her own? Zhang Wu knelt at her knee and called out grandmother, a word she hadn't said in so long. Ow. All right, I am putting down my melon seeds now. Let me say this last bit seriously. The grandmother's storyline is the deepest hidden and the last to be revealed in this entire story. She used up all her blessings for the next 10 lifetimes, knelt before the Earth Lord for a full 10 years. All just to give her granddaughter one more chance. She told no one, sought no credit, and after the rebirth, just hearing Jongwoo call her grandmother was already the greatest fulfillment of her life. You ask what it means to love someone without expecting anything in return. This is it. Scolding her, striking her palm, shielding her from trouble. Spending the entire family fortune to save her, and finally dying quietly in spring. This isn't just a grandmother, this is clearly the most devoted person in the world. Author, in this story of yours, the biggest boss isn't Xiaozi, isn't Zhang Siyue, it is my tear ducts. Thank you for writing her. After that, though Jiang Wu remained mischievous as ever, she was never again as distant with her as she had been in the previous life. She was amazed by her transformation and thought that perhaps it was the Earth Lord who had lent a hand allowing Jiang Wu to wake up. She felt deeply grateful in her heart. In this life, she was determined to change the outcome of the fall of Guangpo City. However, she was no longer in the court and had no evidence. It wouldn't be appropriate to directly ask His Majesty, the Emperor, to heavily guard Yanmen. So she came up with a plan, bribing death warriors to pose as barbarian assassins and cause chaos in the capital city. This move was indeed effective. People in the court began to pay attention to Yanmen Pass, which had been neglected for so long. Unfortunately, what she hadn't expected was that the court had been at peace for too long and had long forgotten how to fight wars. In October, Yanmen was attacked with countless casualties. The court had no spare forces to provide support. She really wanted to go, but she was already old. Her body was far from what it used to be. Even if she went to the front lines to fight, it would be very difficult to win. Besides, if she died, what would happen to Jiang Wu? She feared that dragging it out would lead to the same outcome as her previous life, so she advised His Majesty the Emperor to relocate the capital southward. His Majesty the Emperor agreed. She hurried back to pack her things, but at this moment Jiang Wu threatened her with her own life, seized a horse, and rushed toward Yemen. Only then did she realize that her little granddaughter had such deep feelings for that criminal official. She sent people to chase after her, but they failed to bring Jiang Wu back. She had no choice but to decide to return to the battlefield herself and rescue her. Nothing was that easy. She had no troops, and the court was weak and would not lend them to her. She had no choice but to borrow private soldiers from various households and spend all her family wealth to recruit righteous men. Finally gathering enough forces by mid-November, leading these people, she fought her way back to Yanmen. The female Marquis was old, but the barbarians were still her defeated foes. She drove the barbarians back hundreds of miles, but her body was not as strong as in her youth. Once she returned to Yanmen, she collapsed. That guilty official found many physicians to treat her illness, but she wouldn't accept his kindness, fearing that if she did, she'd have to give her granddaughter to him in return. She knew Jiang Wu like Xiao Boyan, but she didn't approve. Xiao Boyan bore the guilt of crimes. His future uncertain, how could she bear to let her granddaughter suffer? Until later, spending days with them, she saw with her own eyes how gently Xiao Boyan treated Jiang Wu, how he indulged her, and her heart gradually softened. After some time, Xiao Boyan knelt outside her room for 3 days. Only then did she take the opportunity to step down gracefully and agreed to the matter. She passed away in spring. After her death, a ghost messenger came to take her away. She asked if she would be sent somewhere to suffer. The ghost messenger laughed and said, "You are a female marquis with the merit of saving the world. If you still had to suffer after death, wouldn't that be unjust of the heavenly way?" She was stunned. The ghost messenger said, "Taking away your fortune for the next 10 lifetimes. That was the Earth Lord deceiving you. This position of Earth Immortal has always been reserved for you. Old madam, where would you like to be in Earth Immortal?" She raised her head, gazing at the endless mortal world of spring grass, and answered without hesitation. Yangate, the Marchioness's Marquise, is the second rank in China's ancient 5-tier peerage system. Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, Baron, a position of great prestige typically bestowed upon subjects with illustrious military achievements or significant contributions to the state. Historically, women receiving noble titles were extremely rare, mostly through posthumous honors or inherited status from husbands or fathers. Those independently enfeoffed for their own merits are virtually unheard of in official historical records. The literary trope of a woman being enfeoffed as a marquis for military merit represents a romanticized breakthrough of the traditional patriarchal peerage system, embodying the author's recognition and praise of female strength and independent personhood. The python-headed staff as an additional bestowal symbolizes the privilege to bypass hierarchies and directly petition the emperor, and to impeach the powerful, granting its bearer a special status above ordinary protocols.